The NFL. With Tom Brady leaving New England, Drew Brees is now the longest tenured quarterback in the NFL. He's the face of the New Orleans Saints and has been beloved in that town for his emotional and virtually unrivaled monetary support of the city and state. The leader of this team, however, will likely find a trickier locker room to navigate after his comments Wednesday about the possibility of players kneeling again in the fall. Comments which had the people in the streets of New Orleans Wednesday night chanting, "Bleep Drew Brees."
I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place.
A pair of Saints receivers took to Twitter, seemingly in response to Brees. First it was Michael Thomas, who said, "He don't know no better." Later, he added, "We don't care if you don't agree, and whoever else. How about that?" Emmanuel Sanders posted, "SMH, shake my head, ignorant." Later, the Saints quarterback gave a lengthy response to ESPN's Mike Triplett, saying, "I love and respect my teammates, and I stand right there with them in regards to fighting for racial equality and justice. I also stand with my grandfathers who risked their lives for this country and countless other military men and women who do it on a daily basis." Brees' new teammate, Malcolm Jenkins, then gave his thoughts on his quarterback's comments in a now deleted post on Instagram.
Our communities are under siege, and we need help. And what you're telling us is, don't ask for help that way. Ask for a different way. I can't listen to it when you ask that way. We're done asking, Drew. And people who share your sentiments, who express those and push them throughout the world, the airways, are the problem. And it's unfortunate because I considered you a friend. I looked up to you. You're somebody who I had a great deal of respect for. But sometimes you should shut the f*** up.
Jenkins said he deleted that post because he knew that the language there would be the headline, and you heard why. But he posted this additional video with more of his thoughts.
Drew, unfortunately, you're somebody who doesn't understand their privilege. You don't understand the potential that you have to actually be an advocate for the people that you call brothers. You don't understand the history and why people like me, people with my skin color, whose grandfathers fought for this country, who served, and I still protested against that, not against the national anthem, but against what was happening in America and what the fabric of this country is for, or stands for. If you don't understand that other people experience something totally different than you, then when you talk about being the brotherhood and all this other bullshit, it's just lip service, or it's only on the field. Because when we step off this field and I take my helmet off and I'm a black man walking around America and I'm telling you I'm dealing with these things, I'm telling you my communities are dealing with these things, and your response to me is, don't talk about that here. This is not the place. Drew, where is the place, Drew? I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. Because while the world tells you that you're not worthy, that your life doesn't matter, the last place you want to hear from are the guys that you go to war with and that you consider to be allies and to be your friends. Even though we're teammates, I can't let this slide.
There's plenty of reaction on Twitter, especially among Saints players. Marcus Davenport said Drew wasn't talking about the current protests, the riots, or really anything besides his feelings on kneeling during the national anthem. He even explained what they were, the basis, and that he actually stands with us. Do we have to entirely agree with him? No. Cam Jordan replying to that tweet Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but this ain't it. Does it seemingly denounce the focal point of what the intended kneeling was meant for? Yes. Booger McFarland joins us now. Booger, as I was just saying, this is Drew Brees' team, man. It's been his locker room, but I'm imagining him out there counting it down, doing that thing where he's yelling in the middle of the group. And I'm thinking about today and how tricky this gets. How tricky does this get for him in that room?
Well, Scott, I think it's very tricky because Drew's not listening. And I think, Drew made this about him. And he talked about his grandparents and how they fought in the war and what that stood for. And he made it about him. He made it selfish. And if you go back 4 years ago, Scott, when Colin Kaepernick knelt down, let's remember, initially he sat down. But Nate Boyer told him, the Green Beret, said, hey, you're disrespecting the flag. Instead of sitting down on the bench, why don't you kneel down? Because kneeling down is not disrespectful. So Colin Kaepernick, Scott, got up off the bench and he knelt down because he wanted the message to be about police brutality and not about the flag. But Drew Brees didn't hear him. And so today, in light of what's going on in Minneapolis, Drew Brees is still not hearing him. Much like people around America haven't heard black people for a long time. Drew Brees, by all accounts, can be a great guy. He's given away and given a lot of money to the state of Louisiana and to the city of New Orleans. But no matter how many good deeds you do, no matter how much money you give away, no matter how many times you break down the Who Dat chant, are you doing the one thing that as a black man, as a teammate, as a person that's going around America that we're asking you to do? Listen to what we're saying the problem is and then do something. Don't hear what you want to hear. And if Drew Brees would have listened, he would have understood what Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for. And just maybe, Scott, I don't know, I'm not trying to draw a correlation, but just maybe if more people would have listened 4 years ago, George Floyd might still be alive, Scotty. He just might, because that's what the message was about 4 years ago. And so here we are today, and when we're having to deal with dumb comments by a star football player, and it's not the first time, and I promise you it won't be the last.
And there's a lot there that you're saying, and I'm listening. He is beloved in that city and is beloved in that state for all the things that he has done. And I hear what you're saying. But, man, I mean, Malcolm Jenkins straight up said, shut the f*** up. And he took that tweet down. But I mean, he's parsing this out as he's trying to think about what he's saying. I'm trying to picture Drew Brees speaking to his teammates and how you get on the same page, because a locker room's a fascinating place. Booger, you'd know better than me. Like, how do things get handled in a locker room for something this serious? What do you do?
Well, Scott, there's got to be open and honest dialogue. And earlier today, Scott, we talked about Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio is a football coach, and he made a statement that there's no racism in the NFL, which was a lie. It was a false statement. And Vic came back to clarify his statement, and he started talking about the locker room. And he said inside the locker room, by and large, most of the time there's nothing racial in there. White, black, different backgrounds. We come together and we're coming for that common cause. Tony Dungy even echoed those sentiments. So when you ask about the locker room, Scott, it's a place where you can have difficult conversations. And I guarantee you there's going to be a difficult conversation between Drew Brees and his teammates. But here's the problem, though, Scotty. Drew Brees had an opportunity initially 4 years ago to figure out what his stance was. He's had 4 years and a lot of black men murdered unarmed to change his stance. Drew is basically telling black people, hey, I hear you, but I only want to hear you a certain way. If you kneel down, I'm not going to hear you. Well, Drew, that goes against what this country is founded on. Okay, you have to listen to me. You have to be able to respect my views. Otherwise, you're a selfish a-hole. You can't do that. You got to listen. Part of what's wrong with this country right now is we don't want to listen. And today, even after what happened in Minneapolis, Drew Brees doubled down on it. So I gave you the first opportunity. You've had 4 years. You haven't said much, or at least we haven't heard it. And now, after the things that went on in Minnesota, today, of all days, about 10 days after George Floyd gets murdered on national TV that has this country burning down, you double down. And then your teammates start calling you out. And now social media is now roasting you. Aaron Rodgers comes out. Aaron Rodgers said it was never about the flag.
Right.
So, Scott, some people are hearing the message. Aaron Rodgers heard the message, but Drew Brees is not hearing the message. So in order for